A very good evening to you. Welcome to another Newsmakerlive broadcast right here on DBS Television. My name is Timothy Polio. As always, we'll be together until 10 o'clock this evening, at which time we conclude with the clip that peaked. We have two segments, two different guests on the program this evening. Let me tell you about the second segment. We'll be focusing on an incident which occurred in the wee hours today. It was highlighted during the DBS News World. Family got up and they, in the process, effected a citizen's arrest. A male individual was in the home just after 3:30 this morning. The home was burglarized, and the man of the house went on to interrogate this intruder. So we'll be hearing more about this during the second segment of the program, and I have a guest as well. But during the first segment, which is right now, I have a special guest in the studio, and we're here to focus on the Peters Cup, December 13th horse race to take place in Vieux-Fort. You've heard a lot about this, and it has spurred a lot of discussion. It's proven to be very controversial, very interesting, and I'm sure that most of you are looking forward to that December 13th race in St. Lucia. The director of the Royal St. Lucia Turf Club is my guest. His name is Eden Harrington. Welcome to the program, sir.
Timothy, thank you.
How long have you been in St. Lucia now?
St. Lucia, this is trip number 7, I think. So this has been here since the middle of October.
And you enjoying it so far?
Very much so. Hard not to.
What about this project that necessitates people buying into it? Why should St. Lucia buy into this project, which has turned out to be quite controversial? As I said before, it has been politicized and so on. Therefore, why should somebody who's watching this program right now who is apolitical buy into it?
Look, I think the thing to take into account there, Timothy, is that what does this project bring? When you look at something like this, you're looking not so much as the first step of the project is the racetrack, the Royal St. Lucia Turf Club. But people shouldn't be looking so much in terms of saying horse racing, horses on the track. It's more than that. This is a stimulator. This is essentially the creation of an ecosystem in the south, an economic ecosystem that is going to be wonderfully important. This is something that's going to be a job creator in the south. This is something that is going to bring new opportunities to the south. For the country at large, to be frank, it's also something that's going to stimulate by bringing new international investment into the country. The Turf Club is the first step. It's the first piece of the puzzle, but it's so much more. That's what's important to take into account. To give you some idea, this first stage of the racetrack, we've had more than 200 St. Lucians there working, full-time jobs, working on that. And that's only the first stage of what is one of the simpler parts of the project. Come race day, the first race day here, it's our understanding that based either or engaged either directly by the Turf Club or through third parties, there's going to be somewhere between 500 and 800 St. Lucians working on the day. This is the kind of positive stimulant that this project will have. How
sustainable is this project? Because this is the first phase of the DSH initiative.
The Turf Club, you're saying, horse racing? Mm-hmm. Horse racing is going to take some time to scale, and that's what's key to understand. So this is the first day. 2020 is our first year. The intent in 2020 is we're racing once a month. We race as often as the population allows us to. At the moment, we know there's very strong support and interest from Jamaica, from Martinique, from Barbados and Trinidad and Tobago as well. They want to be here. They want to be participating in St. Lucia. That's important because these horses come. That means that there's further opportunities. The population grows, more people to be involved, more jobs are created, more race days are held, more opportunities to entertain people.
But the feeling is that the horse racing is not a popular sport, particularly in the Caribbean. You have those events taking place in Barbados intermittently, Trinidad and Tobago, and also Jamaica. Why should St. Lucia venture in that particular direction?
The appetite for horse racing is typically cultural in many ways. And by that I mean it's a very traditional sport. It's an historic sport. There are ties in those countries. I would say that it's not a small sport, but it's a significant sport. We understand that the more culturally relevant sports in this part of the world are certainly cricket, soccer's on the rise, and St. Lucia's been enormously successful to that end, and that won't change. We're not looking for that to change. This is a different pursuit. This is a pursuit here that's family relevant. Very rarely can you say, I want to come and I want to participate, but I also want to bring my family with me. you can do that. This is something that also entertains in a different way. You can both participate and you can be you can be one who's sitting on the sidelines cheering and supporting. So it's very engaging. It's a dynamic sport. When people see these horses racing come December 13, make sure you're there, be a part of it. When they see these animals here, Timothy, the speed these animals move at, these are high-octane athletes. These are the Formula One cars of horse racing. It's a sport there that does grab the interest. It genuinely does.
You had a few open days. How did that go?
Very, very well. So we had 4 open days each Sunday through the month of November, and we would have had 400-500 guests at each of those days. The intent was to give St Lucians a chance to come and see the facility, ask questions, learn more about what the club is about, what the future holds, and to make up their own mind as to the virtues of the sport and the club at large in their backyard. We very much want to be part of the community, and we've tried to take steps to that end from the very start. The open days was part of that process. The step we began before that was the creation of an initiative called the Winston Trim Training Program, and that was entitled, or focused very much, I should say, on trying to create opportunities for St Lucians to take those first steps towards playing roles within this industry. It is an umbrella program, which means that there are many different courses and programs going to be rolled out underneath it. The first one was rolled out, which was a groom training program. There are St Lucian men and women who went through that program, graduated by meeting the standards of our US doctor who flew in. We brought a gentleman there who was essentially recognised as the leading groom trainer in the United States. We flew him into St Lucia. He trained St Lucians. He accredited those who had passed the program. There are St Lucians now with jobs. They're the first St Lucians involved in this new national industry. More will follow. As we go forward, there'll be new programs in different areas. We want St Lucians to fill these jobs. At the end of the day, Timothy, I'm not meant to be here. My job is going to be taken in time by somebody else, and we want that person to be a St Lucian. We've put people in place who are exceptionally good and exceptionally experienced in their given field, and we want St Lucians to be working underneath them and to be rising up.
Those jobs are seen as demeaning, belittling, picking up literally horse shit and so on, right?
Absolutely.
Why would somebody venture to work in that kind of industry? What is in it for them? Is it can it be demeaning? Can it be belittled to those people? Because we've heard this suggestion being made.
Of course, look, starting as a groom is the traditional entry point for most people within this industry. It's something I've done before. It's something most people who are in senior roles within the club have already done before. It is the entry point to start your journey within the industry. It's not dissimilar you would have come through in the media industry. There are some key roles in that are very, very basic, where you don't actually have a lot to do with the media itself when you come through, but you have to earn your stripes. You have to rise through. You have to understand the system. But understanding what happens and spending that time with the horse is integral. Understanding the nuances of the animal is important. Understanding the personality of a horse that's in your care and meeting the requirements of that animal is essential. And that's really what that role is about. Understanding the horse, working on those basic skills, because those basic skills are life skills within the industry. You go from being a groom, you work up the food chain to become an assistant trainer, a trainer, and it's those areas where you can, in an industry like horse racing, where you can not only excel in St Lucia, you can take your skills overseas. There's no reason you can't. There's no reason in the future, because of the creation of this industry, that a St Lucian trainer or jockey cannot be excelling in the United States or in Dubai or in Europe going forward. And that's what's exciting.
How long have you been in the industry?
I've been in the industry now. I'm aging myself here, Timothy, probably heading towards 25 years.
Mm-hmm. What you did before?
What did I do before? I've played different roles within the industry. I've been involved in horse racing directly. I've been involved in the breeding side of the industry, involved in the media as well. So varied roles within what's a very engaging and very exciting industry.
Okay. The employees, those people who are grooming the horses in the first place, how do you build a relationship with the horse?
Sure. It's a matter of time. Not dissimilar to human beings. You need to spend time to get to know each other. And what they do is they look after these horses essentially 24/7. These horses are put in their care. So it's the first thing is that they're given trust to look after this animal. They look after them from the morning, from picking out their feet, to grooming them, to preparing them for their morning work. The routine of a racehorse is that they work early of a morning. So that means that they go out on the track 6 of 7 mornings. They'll go out there, and depending on the requirements of where they're at in their training regime, the trainer will have instructions and they will do some morning work, stretching their legs. It's like having a morning jog. The extent of that jog can vary depending on your level of fitness and so on and what you're trying to achieve. Of an afternoon, they have a walk. But throughout the course of the day, these grooms are looking after these animals. They're looking after feeding them, ensuring that they're well looked after, making sure that there's no injuries, making sure that there's no sickness, that there's no bites from any animals on them. These are athletes of the highest order, so that needs to be understood. What do I mean by that? As I said, they essentially have somebody who is looking after their interests at all times, which is the groom. They have a personal trainer. They have their own dietitian. They have their own personal doctor, their own physician. They have somebody looking after their feet, somebody looking after their teeth. These are very, very well looked after animals, and that's because they're here to perform. They're here to perform at the very, very highest level. Not dissimilar to human athletes who have people who look after and condition them at every level, from physical conditioning to mental and emotional conditioning, to ensure that they are excelling on the highest of stages. In St. Lucia, the biggest stage is National Day, and every year National Day is going to be a big deal. Every year we want to try and build it up even more. We want the world to turn up to St. Lucia, and we want to tell the world about St. Lucia, and that's been happening.
We understand that it's been rumored that a few horses died recently. Clarify this.
Happy to put that to bed. No, not at all. The horses are happy, the horses are healthy, the horses are very, very well.
And this never happened, you're saying? Never happened?
No horses have died. No horses are sick. Yeah, the horses are in good order. I tell you what, the best thing to do is everybody who doubts, come down December 13. Would love to have your support. Come and see for yourself.
We also understand there's been some kind of vandalism with a billboard.
Look, there was. I don't want to go into too much because it's past, but we had some sideboards there, some large signboards on La Resource Road there. One of them was torn down. We had lighting across the top of those signs. All of that was taken. Certainly disappointing. We're hopeful that it's one of those things, just a once-off, and we can move forward. We very much want to be part of the community, and we want to be contributing to the community.
Let's talk about the quality of the track itself. What kind of work went into determining the how it basically was put together so that it could be comfortable, because the hooves of the horses, when they come into contact with the material, certainly can cause some kind of damage to them.
They can, and we're very, very fortunate that the design team that was instrumental in building the Meydan racecourse in Dubai, which stands alone still as seen as the industry best standard internationally, are the team that was behind St. Lucia here. So that's wonderfully exciting to have that. So this was a purpose-built racecourse. It meets international standard. By that I mean it is, to give an example, obviously that the biggest region in this part of the world is the United States. The track mirrors the best tracks, if not bigger again in size than many of the bigger tracks in the US. It can cover...
But it is not synthetic, no?
It's not synthetic, so it's a traditional dirt surface at stage one. We have started the process of preparing our turf track, which is located inside of that.
So what do you use? Clay and sand?
So it is predominantly a sand-based track. It is looked after every day, which means we've got teams working on it morning, throughout the day, and of an evening, depending on what's happened in terms of where the track is at, depending on whether it's rained. They're continually looking after this track in the best interest of the animal. That means that if it's been dry and it hasn't rained for a while, they're putting water on the track. They can either fluff the track up, so to speak, or they can compress the track to meet the needs of the horse. It is a science unto itself to understand horses very, very well, and to understand tracks to meet the needs of horses very well. And we're very, very fortunate to that end that we have an experienced trackman and a team behind him working that on that day.
How do you determine that the horses are comfortable on that particular track? That's
where it comes down to this science of understanding the animal. But very much so, we have the trainers and the track manager talking regularly. So they give feedback. So the jockeys will give feedback on how the horses feel when they're working the horses of a morning. They talk with the trainers in turn talk with the track manager. It's one of those things that's a relationship, and over time, obviously, you get those components working very, very well.
Let's talk about the dress code. Is there a particular dress code on that day, December 30th?
The most important thing to note that if you're coming to the race day is to dress and be comfortable in your own skin. That's the single most important thing, Timothy. The people who are going to be there, who are part of the general admission, who have secured a ticket to go to the party green, dress as you are comfortable. Essentially, the website, our website there in terms of dress code, really only has two components there that says that there are restrictions. One is that you must have footwear, which is fairly commonplace. Two is that you can't wear clothing that is too revealing. That is it. Aside from that, Please be comfortable, please come. That being said, we're certainly encouraging people, if they want to dress up, please dress up. Please dress up. Horse racing traditionally is a sport where you do dress up, where men might dress up and feel like a king for a day, ladies might dress up and feel like a queen for a day. I know of talking to people even today, there, Timothy, there's ladies there, lady who cut my hair, Ziggy, did a bang-up job this afternoon. Mm-hmm. She and some of her people are keen to dress up. They're keen to dress up and have some fun and feel special for a day. And we encourage that. And we encourage that by doing different things, by promoting it. And also, we're going to have a competition on the day, an elegance award to recognise, in particular, the ladies who are out there, who are dressing up, who have gone to that extra effort. We'll recognise them and give them a prize. But for everybody, there's no compulsion. The most important thing is to come and to be comfortable.
The patrons, where they come from, apart from St. Lucia?
So we know, talking to the Tourism Authority, that ticket sales are going well, coming from the likes of Martinique, Trinidad as well, Jamaica, there's going to be representation, Barbados is coming. That's in terms of guests. Those locations as well, we're going to have from Jamaica, Trinidad, and from Barbados, you're going to have representation in terms of jockeys, trainers and owners, which is wonderfully, wonderfully exciting. But broader than that, you're going to have some significant business leaders, some key players coming in from across the United States, from across Europe, from as far afield as Asia and even Australia. There is representation coming. South America as well, not to be forgotten, Latin America and South America. So there is very much a very significant awareness of St. Lucia right now. This event is sparking considerable interest, not simply through the horse racing world, but broader than that. The international business community is becoming aware of St. Lucia, and that's exciting. Sport is a vehicle to educate. It's the reason why countries typically fight over Olympic Games or soccer World Cups, because they shine a light on a country and gain international attention. St. Lucia is gaining international attention in a positive way because of horse racing.
How many races do you have on that day?
4 races to start our program. 4 good races. So we're going to be launching, so the gates will open at 11 o'clock. First race at 1:30, second race at 2:15. The third race, the Winston Trim Memorial Trophy, at 3 o'clock. The Pitons Cup at 4 o'clock. So we're trying to build momentum throughout the day there, Timothy. Mm-hmm. The Winston Trim is going to be very, very significant. Winston, of course, as most people know, was instrumental in inviting us over to St. Lucia and before we came on board, promoting and mm-hmm. delivering this dream for the country that we want to have horse racing here. We want to open opportunities in St. Lucia. And of course, the Pitons Cup, the most iconic imagery for St. Lucia is the Pitons. Geographical wonders here that the world recognises St. Lucia for, so it was only logical to have the feature race named after this and to have Jalim Judovic create this bespoke trophy here that hasn't been unveiled yet. We had the Marquette there that he showed at the press conference in October, but the actual trophy hasn't been seen yet. When that is seen on National Day, I think people are going to be gushing. We do know, I can assure you and your viewers here, that there are some very, very significant owners, some of the biggest owners in the world, who have seen photos of it, and they're desperate to win it.
The prize money.
Yeah.
How much are you talking about?
So the prize money for the Pitons Cup
mm-hmm.
in USD is $150,000. It's the richest race run in the Caribbean this year. Can't be more significant than that. That alone, it has drawing power to pull people to St. Lucia. The Caribbean has taken notice. Ears have pricked up. People are paying attention. People want to participate. 1, because they want to be part of something new. But 2, when you have the lure of a big carrot, a big race, it's significantly impactful. That's also drawing attention from places like North America. As a general rule, participation from North America across the Caribbean has been modest in recent years. But this event alone is going to have, I think it's 8 participants coming from the United States alone, which is wonderfully, wonderfully exciting. These people are going to own horses. They're going to be experiencing horse racing in St. Lucia not just once. They're going to be participating in an ongoing process. It's important to have them be a part of something unique, have them to experience the very best virtues of St. Lucia, and to launch on National Day when we're showing what it is like to be St. Lucian, showing the best face of the country. It doesn't get any better than that.
In terms of the prize money, you say you have 4 races.
Correct.
So what happens for race number 1, 2, and 3
Sure.
in terms of the prize money?
The prize money, mm-hmm. we have 2 races at $20,000. The Winston Trim is at $40,000. So it's one of the richest sprints across the region. And going forward, Timothy, that's a race that we want to be investing in, to be promoting as one of the premier, if not the premier sprint across the Caribbean. We want it essentially as a grand final for the best sprinters across the Caribbean to be coming here and being involved in St. Lucian horse racing. And of course the Pitons Cup, the biggest race in the Caribbean this year.
Okay, but internationally,
Yeah.
what is the biggest prize money given
The
to
biggest prize money internationally, there was a race announced that hasn't been run yet, that's going to be in Saudi Arabia next year, at $20 million US, which is monstrous, unquantifiable in many ways. Prior to that race, you're looking at races like the Pegasus World Cup, which was at previously at $12 million, the Dubai World Cup at $10 million US. So this is a sport here on a huge scale. St. Lucia is taking its first steps.
Can you at least have a prize been at some point above $1 million US?
Look, we're aspiring high. I'm not going to promise you it's going to happen next year, but certainly the intent is to create opportunities that are engaging and to draw people here and to have significant prize money. But going back to one of those earlier points there, Timothy, where we spoke about creating avenues, the role of the Turf Club is about creating channels for St. Lucians to create new opportunities. And when you have feature races like that internationally, there is no reason in the future why a St. Lucian jockey or trainer cannot be competing in races of that standard in those countries, because the Turf Club has been created, because pathways have been put in place, because they're being educated the right way, and because they're being mentored as they come through a system to develop to do those things.
Walk us through the process. How can people bet on the horses?
Betting, first and foremost, you have to be 18 years or older. That's the first step to understand, and that's the process the world over, important, as I said. But the process of having a bet is very, very straightforward. We will have betting windows across the track there, and you can place your bet for as little as $1 to have a bet to back a horse to win, which means it comes first, to run a place, which means it runs first, second or third, to have an exacta, which means you pick first and second in the correct order, or to have what's called a double, and that means you pick two winners in two races that have been nominated. So it might be you pick the winner of race 1 and race 2, and if you can do that, naturally enough it's challenging, but if you can do that, you'll get a fantastic payout.
Somebody's asking a question on Facebook. Please inform Mr. Harrington that our local guys were promised a race amongst themselves with their local horses on the 13th. Is that going to take place?
That's not going to take place, but it's not going to take place, Timothy, for the right reasons, for a good reason. And that good reason, to be frank, is that in the last couple of weeks, the Turf Club was notified by the International Federation of Horse Racing Authorities, which is the international governing body, that St. Lucia, an application that St. Lucia put forward, has been accepted, and they are currently in the process of assessing St. Lucia to be accrediting St. Lucia as a special racing authority. Now, to give you some understanding, no country across the Caribbean is recognised by the IFHA, or is accredited by the IFHA, I should say. This is exceedingly important. This process has already commenced. We had one of the senior representatives from the IFHA in St. Lucia a few weeks ago. They will be there again on National Day, and they're going to be coming to see race days on a few occasions, we're told, through 2020. The process is that while this accreditation is going through, there are protocols we have to meet, and the IFHA has started to outline what those protocols are. So after that first visit, we were given a report, and it highlighted a number of things that we can do and cannot do. And one of the things we cannot do at this point in time is have essentially a mix between horses there that are that are not confirmed to have met certain inoculation protocols, that are not necessarily recognised by a stud book. These are standards that are well and truly in place in established countries, but because this is a new industry, these are new steps that have to be met. So at the moment, we're not in a position, unfortunately, because of a directive to do this. And to that end, I had a meeting this afternoon there with Jesher and Andrews from NUSA and explained this to him, and he understands the process. But very much what I can tell you, and I can certainly tell your listeners, is the appetite and the interest to work with local horse owners is absolutely there. As soon as this process is done and we have a better understanding of the pathway to work forward, we want to be working with local horse owners to bring them up to speed and to have them participating, to show them off. It was very much our intention in all aspects to show the best face of St. Lucia, and that including Solution Horseman.
We're going up with my guest, Mr. Eden Harrington, until 9:15. So we put the telephone number on the screen right now so that you can call with your questions and comments for my guest. Once again, he is the director of the Royal St. Lucia Turf Club. And during the second segment of the broadcast, we'll be focusing on this incident which occurred at York Hill, Leclerc in the wee hours of today, where a young male burglarized the home of a resident there, and the citizen's arrest was effected. And I'm told that the police did react to this particular matter, responded to it, and he was taken into police custody. What has happened after that, not too aware, but I have a guest who will be speaking on this particular development. But right now, we'll put the telephone number on the screen so that you can call with your questions and comments for my guest, Eden Harrington, director of the Royal St. Lucia Turf Club. We have a call already online. Good evening to you. This is Newsmaker Live. You're on the air.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, good evening to you, caller. All right.
I am just amazed, at last minute protocols when you have governments giving people high hopes, especially the horsemen from Beaufort. You have to give them high hopes that they will participate in an event like this, the first time event like this.
Yes, Tim, how are you?
I'm okay, sir.
What I want to find out, the horses taking part in these races, right? Is it both male and female, or strictly male, strictly female?
Thanks a lot.
Encouraging question. No, we have both male and female horses competing on the day, and in some of those races we have both male and female horses competing against each other. Certainly it is one of the few sports where that is possible, and it's certainly happening here on National Day in St. Lucia.
Another call. Good evening to you, Newsmaker Live. You're on the air.
Mr. Director, I keep hearing about horses died and horses are sick. One died and one is still sick or whatever. Can you tell me, give us any information on that?
Thank you so much.
I can assure all viewers that the horses are very, very healthy. They're very, very well. No horses have died. No horses are sick. I encourage everybody, if you're worried, please come down on National Day and see how healthy these horses are. These are athletes of the highest order. They're looked after 24/7. They're very, very well catered for, and they're very happy, and very healthy. But we're certainly encouraged that people are mindful of this. We're excited about the fact that people are so interested to ensure that these horses are being looked after properly and that they are healthy. It's a positive sign.
A call. Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Hi, good evening to you, sir.
Hi, good evening, Sam, sir.
Go ahead for contribution, please.
Let me tell you, how is there in any way that this race or this in the industry, the St. Lucia industry, the horse racing industry, is it in any way associated with the an international race like the Kentucky Derby or whatnot? I'll listen on the television.
Thank you very much.
So the question was, correct me if I'm wrong here, Timothy, obviously, is there an association between horse racing here? Very much so. The association very much is that this is going to be international horse racing, thoroughbred horse racing. So the Kentucky Derby is the highest profile horse race in the United States. It is the pinnacle. It is the race that every US owner wants to try and win. To that end, we're aspiring that the Pitons Cup is positioned to becoming the race that every racehorse owner in St. Lucia wants to win. They're thoroughbred horses competing at the highest level in their own country for the biggest prize, and the Pitons Cup is the Kentucky Derby, so to speak, of St. Lucia.
Thank you so much for holding on. Go ahead with your contribution, caller.
Good evening, Timothy, and good evening to your guest.
Good evening to you, caller.
Good evening.
My question is, considering the fact that the abattoir had to be relocated and to create the safe equine zone for those horses, and bearing in mind that the locally bred horses, which people are trying to get to race there as well, and some callers sounded very disappointed that apparently they were not going to get a race at this time. How practical is it for these local horses to be able to race there, bearing in mind that these locally bred horses are kept in conditions and environments that the turf club does not have control over, and they may very well be in contact with other livestock, which may not be considered safe for those thoroughbreds we have here. I would like to know how practical this is, if it's practical at all, because to me it defeats the purpose that you're going to have create an equine zone. You had to remove the abattoir, but yet you can have locally bred horses which you don't have control over their environment and where they're coming from. So I'm just wondering. So I would like to get you to expound on that if possible.
Thank you so much.
Look, Timothy, a very meaningful question from your caller there. Thank you so much for the call. What's important to take into account is that the question you're raising is some of the questions that are being raised by some of the other Caribbean countries. And these are some of the questions here or the components here that are being tackled at the moment by St. Lucia's Chief Veterinary Office. There is a process that is being worked through, and that process is going to take some time, but the intent is between the Chief Veterinary Office, the Turf Club, and also some of the other government ministries that we work through the requirements to try and find a solution to ensure that the local horse population meets standards there to participate in this way.
Welcome to Down Here Broadcast.
Okay, we had a call early on, but we lost that call. But let's see if we can get some more calls on the program. You have about 10 minutes left with us, Mr. Eden Harrington, Director of the Royal St. Lucia Turf Club. After that, we'll be turning to our attention to an incident which occurred at a home in York Hill, Leclerc, in the wee hours of this morning, and I have a special guest. We have a call line, Mr. Producer. Good evening to you, Newsmaker Live, you're on the air.
Yeah, Tim, I had a call back because what I wanted to find out is that if we are going to see people coming from the Kentucky Derby race in St. Lucia, knowing about this race in St. Lucia, that was really the question.
Okay, forgive me. The answer is you actually have Kentucky Derby winners participating in the Pitons Cup. It doesn't get any bigger than that. You have Winstar Farm, who has won 2 Kentucky Derbies, who are the biggest ownership group in the United States, participating in the Pitons Cup. They are joined by other significant US owners in the likes of the TaylorMade Farm, the likes of Three Diamonds Farm. There are some very, very big players in the international horse racing industry that are coming down to St. Lucia, be a part of National Day.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening, Tim. Good
Hi.
evening to your guest.
Good evening to you, sir.
Any chances of live coverage?
Thank you so much.
Live coverage of the races?
Yeah.
Absolutely. There will be live coverage here domestically on Helen TV. There will also be coverage on live streaming across social media platforms. There will also be coverage, we're working on coverage there to try and see if we can have coverage across Sportsmax across the region and Scene TV as well. There'll also be coverage into the UK via the UK Tote online.
This is Newsmaker Live right here on DBS Television. We continue to take your calls, and that's for my guest, Mr. Eden Harrington, Director of the Royal St. Lucia Turf Club. Good evening to you. Go ahead with your contribution, caller.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening to you, sir.
And Eden. Yes, during your interview with Russell, you mentioned that there was a lot of interest from, I think you said Jamaica, from Trinidad, from Barbados, I think Guyana as well. I didn't quite understand the interest you were referring to. So could you elaborate on that? Because I was just wondering, like, if these people were coming in with horses as well, or is it just in terms of participation? Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Happy to clarify. Thank you for the question. We have as a first step, you have owners, trainers and jockeys from Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago and Barbados participating this year in the Pitons Cup, this year on National Day. There are owners from those countries who wish to bring horses over. However, the process in terms of the protocols that are recognised at a government level because St. Lucia is new, St. Lucia hasn't been taken into account in the tripartite agreement. There at the moment, Timothy, that's in place between Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago and Barbados. In the likes of Martinique, because Martinique is part of France, St. Lucia has to meet certain protocols by the EU. So it's certainly a challenging process. It's a process that takes time. It's a process that confronts any new industry. And we're going through that process.
Good evening. Thanks for holding on. You're now on the air.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening to you, sir.
Yeah. Has any of the horses who will be in action, performed, excel or won any major race, any race of note before?
That's the extent of your contribution, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you for the question. There are no major winners. When we talk about major winners internationally, like in any international sport, you're looking at the very, very best, the highest of levels. We don't have any horse at that level this year. However, a number of the horses participating are multiple winners. They've won 4, 5, 6 races. So you're going to see some horses there that are serious horses. And we're hopeful going forward that some of these horses that are representing St. Lucia will be able to compete across the Caribbean and represent St. Lucia well as well into 2020.
Good evening to you, caller.
Yeah, good evening, Tina.
Hi.
I just want to ask a question. The horses that are here in St. Lucia, who owns the horses? Have they disclosed who will be racing on the day? Who the horses belong to?
Okay, thanks a lot, sir.
The answer is yes. So when we create a race book, every horse has in there the details of the horse. Will include the name of the horse, the pedigree of the horse, their race performance. It also includes who the owners are. There are horses here, so if I may, to explain to your viewers here, typically it is not a turf club who brings horses in. It's an unusual step. We've taken that step because we have to create a base population here. Typically, horse racing grows organically. It takes more than 100 years to build up at scale. We don't have that luxury. So we've brought horses in here. We've sourced horses. We've had horses trained out of Florida for the last 9 months. We've flown them in here. We've had them trained, looked after by veterinarians of the highest order here, and we've sold these horses to St. Lucians here at under cost price. There are still some horses there that the club still owns, and those are being leased out to St. Lucians to compete on the day.
Good evening to you.
Good evening to you again, sir.
Mm-hmm.
How many races scheduled for that day?
4 races for the day.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay,
Pleasure.
thank you so much for calling, sir. Different types of horse racing bets, do you have that?
We do. 4 bets will be on offer. There's win, which means you place the bet for the horse to win. The horse comes first, you get a payout. Place, which means you have first, second, or third. There is also an exacta, which means you pick first and second in the correct order. And there is another bet called a double, which means that in 2 nominated races, it could be race 1 and race 2, you pick the winner of both of those races. So in the case of an exacta where you pick first and second in order, or a double where you pick the winner and the winner, it's more challenging, but you get a much better payout. So that's the carrot.
Good evening, Newsmaker Live.
Hi, good night, Timothy.
Good night to you, sir.
Good night, Mr. Harrington.
Good night to you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I just wanted some more clarification on the dress code and
Sure.
whether one can wear jeans, whether you could wear black jeans.
Indeed you can. Wear your black jeans. More importantly, wear a big smile when you turn up.
Yeah, because I'm really exposed to the horse racing, and I think it's a really wonderful thing. And I heard, I've been watching it on Saturdays as well. Yeah. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you for
Okay.
your support.
All right.
Thank you so much. We have just 5 minutes left with Mr. Eden Harrington, director of the Royal St. Lucia Turf Club. So if you have any question, any comment, now is the time for you to call. Good evening. You're on the air?
Yes, Mr. Eden. How are you doing? I'm Tim.
Good evening to you, sir.
Yeah, I have a concern about the grounds. I know I'm very familiar with the grounds, and I realize it is a flood-prone area. Last time I was there was last week, and when rain falls, the area retains a lot of water. What is what are you all doing to take care of this situation?
Thank you so much. That's the extent of your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you for your question first and foremost. So there's 2 parts of this, Timothy. First is the track itself. The track is an internationally designed racecourse, so it is designed so that the water will seep through the surface quickly, or it will run off, or should the track manager wish it, they can what's called seal the track so that the water doesn't permeate the track and it can run off. That's for the track itself. In terms of the facility at large here, we have 2 water bodies at the northern end of the racetrack site. Going forward, that's going to be an expanded area. That does 3 things. One is it means that there's a larger water body there to look after the requirements of the track. 2, it means that it's a catchment area to protect the facility, which is what you're alluding to there. So as the water comes off the hills, it naturally goes into this low spot. And the 3rd component is that it beautifies the space. And as the project, the Pearl of the Caribbean, goes forward, that'll become more apparent as we put in other components of this project, which is a wonderfully, wonderfully exciting project, and which is going to be so important, not just to the south, but to the country at large.
Do we have a final caller? No, we don't have a final call. Final comments from you, sir.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Welcome.
What's important, and I certainly want your viewers to take away, is that this is an industry here with a long-term vision. It's an industry here that is looking to play a long-term role in the community. That means that as we move forward, the approach we have to take is long-term. We're taking foundational steps which are so important, and one of the key ones is investing in people, is putting processes in place, putting pathways in place there so that St. Lucians can come through, not alone in horse racing, but also in support industries. This is an economic stimulator. This is an industry here where an ecosystem will grow up around it. That means in logistics, that means in feed and farming, that means in hospitality, that means in any number of pursuits in different areas there. Media even, we're here talking obviously on TV. There's any number of aspects that are going to be stimulated directly or indirectly because of this new industry. It is going to be a job creator, it is going to be a promoter, and it is another way for St. Lucia and St. Lucians to promote themselves to the world. And that's what's wonderfully exciting.
Thank you so much, Mr. Harrington, for being my guest on this evening's Newsmaker Live. And to you, as always, thank you so much for watching. We have a second segment. We'll focus on an incident which occurred at Yorkhill Leclerc in the wee hours of today. I have a special guest. Stay with us.
All good?
Young man, what is your name?
Nick Charles.
And your address?
Mondigo Black, sir.
Your mother and your father's name?
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. You are watching Newsmaker Live right here on DBS television. Once again, we got up until 10 o'clock this evening. We conclude with a clip that peaked during the segment. We focus on an incident which occurred in the wee hours of today at Yorkhill, Leclerc, where a home was burglarized, and luckily for the couple, they were able to subdue the individual, a young male, along with the owner of the house, who is in studio right now. And the police, they were called in and they responded quickly, I understand. But the homeowner went on to probe the intruder. This is how it went.
What is your name? And your address?
Mondigo Black, sir.
Your mother and your father's name?
My name is Sylvia. Sylvia Charles.
What's the latest name?
Felix.
Right.
Felix what?
Felix Charles.
Felix Charles. What is it that you are doing in my house at this time of the evening, or the morning rather?
But you don't need to let you.
Which truth, sir?
What down there, like really.
What down there? Like, what is it that you're talking about? You entered here with a cutlass.
No, but I had it already.
All right, you entered there with a touchlight.
Yeah.
We woke up and we saw the touchlight in the room. Then we came and see what was going on. You had a cutlass in your hand. What is it that you are doing in the house at this point in time?
I was running.
You were running for what?
Oh God. No, but that's the truth. I don't know what to say again. I can't.
Okay, and in addition to that, you have my wife's phone in your bag. What do you have to say for that? You have my wife's phone in your bag. You were searching when I entered the room.
No, I was just trying to duck under there.
You were trying to duck under there?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the name of the fellas that you're running away from?
My name is Jimmy.
Jimmy what?
I don't know his name.
Now this video will be posted, so you want to make sure that you know the name of the guys. If people are running after you at this hour, all right, and you don't know the name, and you say Leclerc fellas, at this point in time, where were you when they were running after you? Leclerc doing what?
I was doing business.
Doing what type of business? Supermarket business? You were selling bananas? What type of business?
Yeah, a bicycle.
A bicycle to do what?
To ride.
To ride to go where?
Back at my home.
Back at your home. All right. And you have my wife's cell phone in your bag. In addition to that, you were searching to see if you would find items to go away with. No, sir. What is your mom's name?
Sylvia.
And your father's name?
Felix.
Your date of birth?
January 8th.
January 8th for what?
2000.
Which school do you attend? You don't go to school again? All right, good. And what is your profession?
What profession?
What work do you do?
Help my father do a mechanic.
Okay, you come and you're helping your father do the mechanic, and that's not sufficient. In addition to that, you want to break and enter in people's house.
I don't know nothing about breaking and entering.
Okay, so how did you enter in here?
I do it with a knife.
You what?
With a knife.
Okay, that is your home, right?
No.
Right, so why did you open the door with a knife?
Maybe I can lock me.
No, I will not knock you.
The same way.
Captivating interview taking place there. Welcome to the broadcast, Mr. Callista Jean-Louis, well-known counselor, former employee of the BTC Boys Training Center, and also your former police officer. your home was burglarized, but it's rented by your daughter and her husband, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Walk us through this particular incident again. Why the composure on your part as well as on the part of the gentleman?
Well, I must say to him that it was a very traumatic moment.
It doesn't appear so, based on what we heard the recording.
Yes, because we had the situation under control. Because about 4:30 a.m. I was awakened by.
It wasn't 3:30. It was 4:30.
No. What did I say? No, 3:30.
3:30. Okay.
3:30 a.m. I was awakened by loud cries of my daughter calling me. As a result, I went downstairs in a very panicky mood because I was wondering what was happening. Was it a medical condition? So I went down, and as I entered downstairs and entered the bedroom, I noticed my son-in-law was in struggle with a young man. I responded by giving him assistance, where we put a handcuff on him.
Where you got a handcuff from?
Well, remember, remember, I'm an ex-police officer.
You never give it up?
No. I bought my handcuffs because during that time, the police hardly have tools.
Okay.
And there was a store somewhere in the chaussee, close to Sing, opposite Sing, that was selling handcuffs.
And you bought it how long ago?
I bought it.
I'm really interested in that handcuff.
Yeah.
How long ago?
I bought it 20-something years ago.
Okay.
And since it was mine, I kept it. Yeah, and it came in handy to really take control of.
You know, we could have a show on this particular that handcuff issue all by itself, because for police officers to have to buy their own equipment to work with and so on.
Yeah. Well, in those times, the police hardly had anything.
Okay.
A little baton. Oh no, we don't even have baton. A whistle and a uniform. Yeah, I am hoping that things has changed. I see there are firearms too. But since we took control of the situation, there was no need to go any further in the situation, because we realized it was a young individual, and because of concern, because we all from a Christian background, and saying it was a young individual who we can deem to be a juvenile, somewhere between the ages of 15 and 16. We will question him to find out who was he, where he came from, what was happening with him, what was his parents' name. This type of question to gain information. But at the same time, in taking control of the situation, we noticed a mask, a knife, and a cutlass, which did not belong to anybody in the house.
Yeah.
So we presume that it belonged to the young man. But the good thing about it is, when the police were called, the police responded in a very reasonable time, and that was very good. Which
what do you consider to be reasonable? What, in half an hour? Within half an hour?
When you call within 15 minutes to 20 minutes, the police was already there. They took on control of the situation, and he accompanied the police, I suppose, to the police station.
But it's now in the care of his mom?
Yes, because
he said I remember you asking him the question. He said that he was born in January, and you asked what year.
No, well, this was my son-in-law who was asking.
And he said January 2000. That makes it 19.
Yeah, but he You see, I have a number of concerns about the situation, because I see a very young boy within the age 15, 16, and coming into the house around that time, his intellectual skills or reasoning was really low. It was really low. It was not that sharp.
Mm-hmm.
So you could
remember your son asking him what is his vocation.
Yes,
yeah.
He
said and he didn't understand.
Yes, yeah. and my concern is everything that happened there fall back on statistics that have been shown about criminal activity. It literally highlighted risk factors, high risk factors and vulnerabilities, and low protective mechanisms. Because here is a boy within the ages of 15 and 16 that intellectually you can make the assumption that he did not perform well at school. You could have gotten that based upon his feedback, and he may have been, and it's most likely
he could be
a dropout.
No, he could be playing a trick on you guys.
Yeah.
Trying to delude you all, mislead you all, and so on.
Yeah. I do understand that. A lot of the information that he gave, because I've been a police officer for 15 years. Worked at Boys Training Center. I know what is the modus operandi of criminals is that they lie. I understand that, but then working with those vulnerable people, children as a police officer and at Boys Training Center, you can make certain assessment in the manner in which they are communicating, even if they are telling lies. But you can pick out the stories, and the story that I'm getting from that situation is that here's a young man who has most likely dropped out of school. Okay, and now because of those a number of factors, probably the vulnerabilities that he has been exposed at home in terms of positive parenting.
Probably, because we don't know.
Yeah, that's why, Tim, as a professional, because you can get information two ways. You can go and take a source of a book which somebody has written something about and cite from it, and also as a professional, because of your expertise and experience, one can make certain professional assessment. Okay, and that can be accepted anywhere in court, because when I go to court, the judge or the magistrate would ask me for my professional opinion. Okay, it may not be 100%, but it is reliable based upon my professionalism and my experience, and in assessing that situation, I can guarantee you, Tim. Okay, if you do a psychosocial assessment of that boy now, okay, you will look at because they have 4 levels at which you look at vulnerabilities and strengths. Okay, number 1, you look at the individual level. What is happening to that child as an individual? Has he been abused? Has he been neglected? Has he been exposed to positive parenting? Has he been exposed to positive role modeling? Okay, that is on the individual level, his experiences. The next level, you look at the relational level. What is his relation with his parent, or the parent-child relationship. Is it a relationship where there isn't an attachment with the parent? There's no father figure. The relationship or the status in which he finds himself in a family is one of poverty, because we do know, Tim, that poverty, there's a high correlation between poverty and crime. Okay, we do know that. Okay, and when you move on to the next level, the community level, in which that boy is being socialized and growing up, what is happening at the community level? What is reinforcing the behavior, okay, in the community? And when you talk about community,
okay, but more than that, shouldn't he take responsibility for his actions? Because what I'm hearing here, peripheral issues which might have influenced his decision to burglarize your home, right? But what about taking personal responsibility for his actions?
But that is why there's a court process. Okay, the police came in, arrest him, take him before the court. Okay, but then, Tim, you have to look at protective factors that can prevent those things.
Yeah, but what if he injured your daughter and son-in-law? I mean, worst case scenario.
Yes,
would that be your how you analyze the situation now?
But Tim, whether there were any injuries or not, we still have to look at the fact of how can we prevent those type of things, because you will not get the police everywhere, in every house, in any corner. You will not get cameras in every street and in every corner. Okay, that is impossible. But what we can do, we can create an environment, Tim, where we can minimize the risk factors and increase the protective factors, so that we could prevent or minimize this type of delinquent behaviors in a very significant way. And one of the issues that I really see is every child supposed to go to a school, Tim, and we're supposed to capture those types of behaviors in a school setting and have intervention in the school setting. But what it looks like to me, okay, that child has gone through the cracks, and how many other children or young men and women keep going through the cracks because we do not have in place a set of mechanisms and policies that can minimize risk factors.
What about role for parents?
Of course, but that is where it comes. Because, Tim,
you seem to be putting all the responsibility on the state.
No.
What about the responsibility for the parents?
I've not done that.
Because if he's a minor, what is he doing out at 3:30 in the morning?
I'm not putting all responsibilities, but I'm saying there's a role for the state, the role for the family, the roles for the individual, and role from the community.
So let's say
and you cannot separate the two, because the four aspects, because each reinforces the other. Okay? Now, the primary responsibility of government is to create a safe environment. Okay? Now, when we do sociology and criminology, you will hear a theory that speaks about the cycle of poverty. Okay, it's a cycle, and it is extremely difficult for the people who find themselves in that cycle to get out of it if they do not get help. And Tim, what you put in is what you get.
But why do we have so many poor, law-abiding citizens in St. Lucia?
Why do we have
so many poor, law-abiding citizens in St. Lucia? Mr. Jean-Louis, we have.
Tim,
if you visit all of the communities, by nature, we have a lot of poor people in the main who are also law-abiding
but
citizens.
What I'm saying is, poverty create vulnerabilities. Okay? And that's the point we need to focus on. If you look at all the societies where there's a low degree of crime, okay, the poverty level is always low in this country. There's lots of governmental support. When Giuliani, Giuliani came
let's
into
not
New York,
go to New York.
No,
Okay?
you have to take these things and translate it.
Let's look at Trinidad and Tobago, very closer to St. Lucia than the United States. You also studied there, right?
Yeah,
The unemployment level is just a little above 4% in Trinidad and Tobago. Why do we have a situation where we have had at least over 400 murders in Trinidad and Tobago?
Okay, there are
oil-rich Trinidad.
488 murders in Trinidad. Now, Trinidad
close
is
to 500.
Okay, Trinidad is a very complex place, because of its history, is because of the different races, a very slightly larger Indian majority, and the Afro-Trinidadian society. Now, Trinidad is a very stratified country. That even if you may have a very low unemployment, okay, that does not mean that there is not high poverty, because in Trinidad there's super rich individuals and super poor individuals, and a vast majority, whether it be an Indian, because Indians have a caste system, okay, and all of that is reflected in Trinidad, and you get a significant amount of Trinidadians who can barely survive, and that's why there's CPEP, where every morning, well, from 4 o'clock in the morning, so you'll see they start cutting say taxi drivers, because the government team has, because knowing that the government need to create a buffer.
Hold on, point. I think we have a call line already. Good evening to you, Newsmaker Live. You're on the air.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking my call.
Go ahead, Connor.
I'm Louis. I'm so sad to hear some part of the story that you give as an ex-police officer. I mean, I'm an ex-police officer as well. I'm disappointed also about the reason why this criminal's face is not being exposed on television.
Well, he's a minor.
We have a terrible situation at hand. A young man, you consider him to be a juvenile, but in interrogating him, he said he was born in 2000, which means he's about 19 years old. This man, I mean, I consider him to be a lucky criminal. Because if it was me who had gotten in touch with this guy would have been in the police and differently. You have a mask in your bag, a cutlass. I mean, this guy was fully armed. And you tell me as an ex-police officer, you're handling this guy. Man, this guy would have had a lot of scratches. And then, I'll have to answer some more questions to the police. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Okay, here's one thing. We are supposed to be guided by a certain degree of ethics. There's police ethics, there's counselors' ethics, there's morals, values which govern people's behavior. Here is an individual who has already been subdued. He no longer poses a threat to you. Okay, what do you do? Okay, you call the police and let the police handle the matter and try to go to due process. Because number one, I'm a Christian, my families are Christian, and we are guided by our Christian values and morals. The young man, whether it be an older individual or a much younger individual, he has already been subdued. He's no longer a threat. You have to treat this person with respect. And that is what my model Christ would have done. So we followed the very same example. There was no need, because I'm not an angry person. I'm not a stressed out person. I am balanced, and you have to let your thinking process take over rather than let the animalistic side of you take over, because probably had I acted it differently, I may have have to answer questions to the authorities.
We take your calls once again. My guest this evening is Mr. Callistus Jean-Louis. We have a call line. Good evening to you. This is Newsmaker Live. You're on the air. There's a feedback. Turn on the volume of your television set, please.
Hello?
Hi, good evening to you, ma'am.
Yes. I am just saying that I'm not sure who have called before, but I'm saying that in this incident, the police just dropped the guy in the custody of his parents, I was told. But to me, there should be somewhere this guy should be taken to help him out in the whole process, because he will spend 2 days and he'll go back just doing the same thing. Right? Or something worse. So what rules, what laws we have in St. Lucia to actually help juveniles in this area? Just drop them back on the street?
Yes,
thank you so much, ma'am. Because this is very weird. This is very weird.
I do agree with that. And there's what's known as status offenses, where a police officer can pick up any juvenile. And a juvenile, based upon our laws, I don't know if they change it with the new child justice bill, but I know from 15 downwards. Okay? And if that child is supposed to be at school and the child is walking around town, the police, because they are juvenile, the police has the authority to pick him up. Here is a child that is in need of care and protection. Okay? 3:30 in the morning, you're out in a house, okay, doing an unlawful act. Okay? It tells me the mother has little control or no control over that boy. The police, through the social worker and family court, should have placed that boy in a safe setting where I myself and my family can feel safe.
And the boy could have been at the boys' training center?
Yes.
We have a call. Good evening to you, Newsmaker Live. You're on the air.
Good evening, team. And
hi. Good evening to you. I'm okay.
Good evening to you again.
Yes, good evening, sir.
I still believe that the police did something wrong. Because to me, first thing they should have done, take the boy to his parents' home and search the home. Because you could never tell. That guy probably have entered into how many people's houses, and to get in. So the police should have searched the house and then take that guy to a counselor or someplace to, give him some advice what to do. I think that is the best thing.
Yes, it is so true with the mask and everything. I think since you have him in custody, take him to the home, search, or whether you get the search warrant from a JP, and you go and search the home, because it would have been possible to have gotten further evidence of other activities, unlawful activities, this young man or his family could have been involved. But coming back again, Tim, because this is one thing, is only when you are faced with those situations, you begin to understand what other victims experience.
Good evening to you, Newsmaker Live. Again, turn up the volume of your television set, please, and then you may proceed with your contribution, caller. Turn on the volume. Turn on the volume, please.
Oh boy, that cat is...
Please set it down. Hello? Okay, we'll have to cut the video off. But please turn down the volume of your television set before you call the program. Once again, for my guest, Mr. Callistus Jean-Louis, and he is on the broadcast and recounting his ordeal in the wee hours of today. Remarkable composure on your part and on the part of your son-in-law. People are saying that maybe it's the Brant Jean effect. We have a call. Good evening to you.
My country.
Again, caller. Turn down the volume of your television set. Is your television on?
Television, radio, computer.
Is your television on? You have anything on?
Yes, it's on.
Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
My contribution is a good quarters to straighten up those young boys.
All right, thank you so much. Your response to this?
Let me tell you something. Most of these guys has been beaten. They have been caught. A police officer just said to me, a city police officer said to me, this guy was arrested not too long ago for similar acts, but people didn't want to press charges. Okay, but this is a time that this boy should have been placed in a safe institution.
We have a call. Good evening to you. Hello.
Yeah.
Good evening to you, caller.
I trying to listen to the program, but the reception is very bad. I don't know. I can't even understand what you're saying.
Well, it's bad where? On Facebook or on television?
No, I think I'm watching it live on television at home.
Okay. Where are you now? In what area?
I'm home now watching, but I want to make a contribution. I can't even really understand what...
what part of St. Lucia? What area?
Bishop Gap.
Oh, Bishop's Gap, okay. I don't think it has anything to do with us. Maybe it's a telecommunications provider. But my apologies to you, sir.
Okay.
Okay, my apologies.
Yeah, but like...
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, please.
Mr. What's his name again?
Jean-Louis.
Calista Jean-Louis.
Calista Jean-Louis, yeah. I'm saying like I appreciate like the way he treat the gentleman, and the interview. I was really interested in the interview because of the kind of question they asked the gentleman, the boy or the child. You know, like
the young man.
It was very interesting because he actually started from like what's your name, and then your mother name, your father name, and what work you do on those kind of things. So I find it was very interesting, which is different to all the things we have been watching on television in terms of people getting somebody in their house or their property. You know, so I find it was very interesting, and then it is a good thing for the gentleman, the boy, which that invaded his house. And I hope that boy actually make a 360 turn to achieve better in life and become somebody more positive, so that his friends and others could take example from what he's been through, because he's just one of the luckiest ones in St. Lucia for now. You know, so I appreciate what he did, and then it's very good for the way he approached the whole system.
Okay,
right, thank you.
Thank you so much. And we hope that the reception will improve. Let's continue to take your calls once again for my guest, Callistus Jean-Louis. We'll take at least 2 more calls, so if you care to, you can do so right now. And I think, yeah, we have our final call. All right, the producer said final call. Good evening, you're on the air.
Good night.
Good night to you, ma'am.
Good night, good night.
Yes. One lady, officer, monsieur, when I met on money, I parlait behalf of qui m'a là. Moi-même, là, avec moi, chaque mal à la peine tellement ça pour moi dit. But some officer dit ça Christian. Moi-même, c'est un tout. Mais ça tu vas la faire pas bon. De la officer te dit. De la man tu vas la partie maman parents out of way et puis or de la yo ka cause ka fait tout et ben même fait pas quoi. So moi même ka ouais, c'est moi même nga forgive lui. Nga forgive lui. Officer après mener la messe. Literally. Who go on encourage me the word of God. Who go on because they like we say deliver là. Who go on c'est pas right side fair. But as a child of God, someone kawe ni mercy train me many la mess. Who go on the because sometimes them work here ni go on. I can let someone pass by a Bali. il can continuer faire, il can continuer because il a qu'un programme là qu'a fait c'est bail ça. Il y a ni masse en bagli, il y a ni ci, il y a ni ça. C'est un travail avec moi. Oui, so si you are day as le money by Christ. Il est en faveur. Mais moi sorry pour ça il fait ça c'est contribution dans mon ça dit.
Thank you very much.
Okay, merci beaucoup. Let's take the final comments from you, Callistus.
My concern now is how do we approach this from now? Because I am saying this boy is one of many boys or young people, male, female, who are going through the crack. And he is at the stage where you are dealing with intervention. And for young boys, we have boys training center. But I have all my concerns about boys training center, whether or not it's meeting its mission and goals, because of the high recidivism rate from boys training center to Borderley. Over and over, I've been at boys training center for 13 years, and every consultant has indicated boys training center, the physical structure is not fit for humans to live. And I've been saying that for years. Okay? Why are they still having people's children going there? To the point where the consultants have said that rehabilitation cannot take place in that environment. And for 13 years, every government has indicated they will be moving. Remember the Seraphim report? They went down right to Mon report to look at a place. And up to now, 13 years after, Boys Training Center is still where it is. And we still have the high recidivism rate moving from...
Does that have to do with the location or the kind of program that you have at the institution?
Okay.
What about the location? Does it make a difference whether it's located there or somewhere else?
I can tell you, based upon my professional opinion and the consultant's report, they need to move. Okay? The physical structure is a big problem. Okay? We were at a training session, and we said we were at a training session with someone who came down from the state. Donovan Williams was the permanent secretary. And the individual told Donovan Williams in our presence before they started the presentation, "So, I have been to juvenile facilities all over the world, and Boys Training Center looks nothing like a rehabilitation institution." Okay? And that is one of our major problems, because we need to send them for help. And government, again, I don't know who else you want them to take up that challenge, but government must create the environment so they could get the help, so we can feel safe in the country. Okay? Put the protective mechanisms in place and reduce the risk factors. I need to have government come out with the policies to deal with those issues. Do you know how many people call me today, Tim? Tell me about, boy, they broke and enter my home. I have my friend, and every day you get in a car missing. Mm-hmm. That is not the environment where you want people to live or want to interact in investors. Okay? People need to feel safe. And right now, I'm telling you, Tim, I don't feel safe, because it was a month and a half where my brother-in-law, Johnny, was killed on Viewfort. They tried to rob him. He's no gang, no nothing. My past principal, Victor Morris, my good friend, we always laugh. The same week, Tim, okay, we were in tongue there laughing, and I'm hearing a few days after, and look this, Tim. You know, Tim, we need to feel safe. And it's the government, nobody else. But the government need to come out and start doing something and tell people, apart from the police and the cameras, what are they going to do to make people feel safer? Thank you, Tim.
Thank you so much for being my guest on this evening's Newsmaker Live. And to you, thank you so much for watching the broadcast, and thank you so much for contributing via your calls. The discussion, no doubt, will continue tomorrow on Newspin on Real FM 91.3 North and 91.5 South, and the program is also live streamed on Facebook. If it's Wednesday, it's Newsmaker Live. Time now for the clip that peaked.
Get Ariel little feet back there kicking.
Now follow me. Come on, kick him, kick him, kick him, kick him. Come on. Kick him, kick him. Kick him. Kick him. Kick him, Mutan. Come on, keep kicking him.
Oh, shit! I'm so glad I was recording that! Yeah!
That's the broadcast. Once again, my name is Timothy Paul saying good night. See you next time.